Okay, hey guys, and welcome back to Pixel Cherry Ninja's channel. We have a very interesting and, might I say, awesome live stream for you guys today. We are having a look at a game called Attack of the Karens, and I fell in love with this game when I first saw it, and I tried the demo out a little time ago, a little while ago, and I was like, okay, this game is sheer awesomeness, and okay, right, what's going on? Let's have a look. Sorry, just gonna check my stream stuff. Okay, okay, cool. I think we're good. Right. Hey Joel. Okay, so first of all, let me welcome Joel from Studio Primitive, who's with us to talk about his game. Hey Joel, how are you?
Hey, I'm doing well, thanks.
Excellent, excellent. Okay, so here's your game Attack of the Karens. Now, this is a pre-recorded video of me playing the game and having a blast playing it. So, first of all, like having a look at the options, I like the fact that you've put a CRT filter option in there. That's awesome. I absolutely love like the intros and everything, the whole story and everything behind it. It is just pure genius. So, tell us a little bit about this. How did you come up with the idea for this game? What was your inspiration behind it? I mean, how did it go?
Well, I've always been really inspired by the 8-bit, 16-bit era. That's where I kind of grew up playing video games, was the NES, Super Nintendo phase. And so that's where a lot of the inspiration from the artwork and the graphics comes from, is those types of games. I always did enjoy playing shmups, and so they were always a little challenging for me. But I drew a lot of inspiration from classic shmups, such as like Gradius and those kinds of games. And also some modern ones. There's one called Black Paradox that is a lot similar to how this game plays. I drew a lot from that. And
Okay, I've
so,
not heard of that, but I'll check that out.
yeah, it's kind of a more obscure game, relatively unknown, but I played hours and hours of that shmup, and so that one's I'd recommend it if you enjoyed my game. Definitely try Black Paradox. But so as far as the Karen theme, though, that came from, oddly enough, it came from a Twitter poll. So I put a Twitter poll out after I finished my first three very small projects on itch. I said, hey, what kind of game should I make next? Should I make a Karen slapping simulator? Should I make a Game Boy style shmup? Or should I make, and I put a third option up there, I don't remember what it was, but the votes were even between a Karen slapping simulator and a Game Boy shmup. And so I said, well, I guess I'll make a Karen themed shmup. So that's where it came from. And it was originally intended to be a 3-month project, but it blew way out beyond that. And it's been about a little over 2 years now making the game. And yeah, here we are now. It's released.
Okay, well, look, from the gameplay I've had, like I like the demo, but it's come the demo was really good, but having the complete and final product, like honestly, I really enjoyed it. Right, the attack patterns are good, the bullet patterns are good. There's a lot of bullets on the screen, but there's always like a way. Now, playing this game, I did not feel cheated. When I kind of died, I was like, okay, that was me. I kind of sucked. But the other thing that I like, the twist that you've given this, it's got roguelike elements. So you collect the modules. As you collect the modules, you bank them for like different power-ups that are permanent in your ship, making additional runs easier. So, would you say that this is like, say, the Dead Cells of shmups at the moment? Because I don't think there's many other roguelike shmups out there, at least not like a horizontal shooting one, or at least not one that I've seen.
Um, maybe you could call it that. I think, having a roguelike shmup is a definite twist to the classic shmup formula. Usually it's you get, so many credits and then you die and then you start all over again. And in the shmup community, there's a thing called the 1cc, which is the one credit clear,
Yep.
which is you can get through the whole game in one credit, and that's a kind of a point of pride. And so the structure of Attack of the Karens kind of takes away from that, right? So it's kind of pulling away from the traditional shmup formula. There are a few out there that do the same thing. Like I mentioned, Black Paradox being one of those. I think it would be relatively impossible to make it through that game in the first try on the first credit. There's a couple of people in the Discord that are basically trying to finish the game without any upgrades and just completely stock ship. And so I'm going to go back actually and add in an achievement to the game to give you a little bit of an award, on Steam if you can do that. If you
Wow.
can
Okay.
finish it without any upgrades or anything, because that's quite a feat. But Yeah, I imagine some people might take this as a challenge to do that, but not very many shmups add in the roguelike element. More of them, a lot of them are stick to the tried and true formula of just, 3 credits, clear the game, you get the power-ups during the run, and they all reset if you die.
Yeah.
So,
Okay, and another thing to mention here, we kind of should have started with that. Joe has been kind enough to provide a Steam code for one lucky winner. So if you guys want to win a copy of this game for Steam, then just let us know in the comments below what your favorite Karen moment has ever been. Like, what Karen moment on the internet was your favorite? So you can just make reference to one, and we'll pick either the best one or a random one out of the draw. Not currently decided. If something comes out and it just stands out as the best Karen moment, then myself and Joel will agree to pick one out. If they're all mediocre and they're all on the same level, or we have like a tiebreaker, then we'll just pick a random one out of the hat. But yeah, you can win a copy of this game, and honestly, guys, it's just really, really good. Like one thing in this, and that's one thing I have to say, Joel, the voice acting is really, really good for like an indie game that you've spent 2 years working on. The voice acting is spot on. I love like your assistant that you've got, the one that warns the Karens, and the Karens, they just sound amazing, and the way the dialogue is written, it's fantastic. It's like, this one here, she went into a store, she threw a tantrum, she got chased out by a cop. The whole story is there, and then you kind of destroy them. And another thing that I think I might have noticed is like the first level boss. First time I encountered that boss, they changed into a different one final form, and unless I'm mistaken, the second time I done it, they had a different final form. Is that correct?
so they don't have different final forms, but they have different attacks. So what you might have seen is the same boss, but just a different attack style or different attack difficulty, because the game, depending on when you encounter the boss, say you encounter the same boss at the first level, and then again at the 4th level, the boss difficulty is going to be a lot more difficult if you encounter them on the 4th level than on the 1st level. So it might have been that the attacks were a lot more projectiles. The projectile speed was higher, and so it felt different. So that, yeah, that could
Okay,
have been it.
okay. Also, my memory's crap, so I play stuff and like, did I see this again? It's probably a year, not anymore. I don't spend time with Mary Jane anymore, but there was a long time I spent with Mary Jane, and I'm pretty sure Mary Jane has taken my long-term memory. Right, what I'm gonna do is let's I'm just gonna pause this video segment a minute because I am running videos, but I've got multiple windows open. So let me pause this a second. Right, let's now check this window, right? Which I absolutely love this. So in order to unlock this, I had to do 3 runs, and after doing the 3 runs, it gave me options to curses and cushions. Also, like the way you've used the Mortal Kombat spelling. Now, I was having a look at them. Curses make the game extremely difficult, so I didn't go with them first. I did have a look at them. I went over with cushions, and you know what? I turned on every single one, and it made the game become easy to the point of I had to kamikaze myself in order to like die and then continue with the rest of the video I was shooting. So this is absolutely awesome. Tell us a bit about it.
So I wanted to make the game accessible to people that are not hardcore shmuppers, right? And so the difficulty is such that it should give people that play shmups a bit of a challenge. It's not going to be as difficult as a on Patchy or something like that, but I wanted to add in an element for people that even struggled with the base difficulty, so they could be able to see the rest of the game. So that's where the idea for curses and cushions came from. Cushions are going to make the game easier. Curses are going to make the game more difficult. And I wanted to do it in a way that was different than just the traditional difficulty slider, right? So making it easier lowers enemy health, gives you more health, and making it harder increases enemy health and gives you less health, something like that. I wanted to have it be customizable to what the player wanted to do, and so that's where I came up with the idea of 8 selectable difficulty modifiers on each end that you could pick and choose and mix and match. And it also adds the element of, hey, what if I add all the curses and all the cushions? What's going to happen then? It's going to be a total wild card. And so with this, you can pick and choose different elements of the game that you want to include. Like on the curses, a couple of my favorite ones that just kind of make it a little more difficult for me are the exploding modules. So the
Oh wow,
modules or
okay.
resources you collect that you can spend at the store. And if you have that turned on, if you don't collect them within a certain time limit, they explode into a bunch of bullets, and you
Wow.
lose the module, and it also becomes a threat, right? So things like that just make the game more fun and just twist it a little bit. So that's kind of where the idea came from.
Awesome, awesome. One suggestion here. You know, where you're putting in an achievement for if you can 1cc this game, it might be worth putting in an achievement if you can actually complete this game with all the curses, all 8 of like the curses modules switched on. I don't think anyone will ever
There is
achieve
an
it.
achievement for that, actually. Yeah, there is one. So
like okay. So when I was looking at the modifiers, um, there was one in there which I tend not to use in shmup. So I'm a big shmup fan. I only discovered I was a shmup fan when I got my Mister and I started playing a lot of the games on FPG. I mean, I always played them. I just didn't realize I liked them so much in favor of like beat 'em ups and fighting games. But one thing that I'm kind of okay with, like on say Gradius now, I only ever get 1 speed power up. If I get an additional one, I feel like the ship moves too fast and I end up crashing into stuff. So the default speed for me at the moment on this game is perfect. So I might try a speed modifier, but again, I might just stay away from that.
yeah, it gets a little bit sweaty if you don't add any speed, because there's some attacks that cover almost the entire screen, and if you're in the wrong spot, if your speed's not high enough, you won't get out
Yes.
of the way quick enough. So the speed does add a little bit, but I agree, sometimes it gets a little bit too twitchy and you end up running into bullets rather than, avoiding them, because you overcorrect and your speed just is too high.
I get that, because there's a boss fight I think I was doing where you get the warning, like you get the lines and the warning, and you've got to stay in between. So the first shot it fired, I was in the middle of the screen, and the warnings were above and below me, so that was okay. But then the next one that came, the safe zone was at the very bottom of the screen. So even though I saw it and I was ready to move down to the bottom of the screen, my speed wasn't enough, and I ended up getting hit by a bullet. Or by the attack, sorry. Right.
Yep, that's bound to happen.
Right, cool. Right, like let me pause this little part now. Okay, so let's pause this and let's bring up this window. And so this is this is this is the curses now. So this is actually, I find this quite funny. So let's go into curses. That was the modifying screen. So I've kind of, like I said, I've queued stuff up. So okay, did I go? Yeah. So okay, nice to have the reset button there. I like how you don't have to do it manually. And let's just have a look at the chat. Okay, so we've got a few people in chat. We've got Indie Game IACS. Thank hey to you, buddy. JS 200GB. TMS and okay, yeah, those are the guys in chat. So hey guys, nice one. So it's a bit difficult to read all the chat in here, but while Joel's speaking about some stuff, I'll try and have a look. So Joel, here we go. Talk us through the curses.
All right, so we got a bunch of fun different curses on there. One of them's going to add triple enemy health, so it's going to make enemies pretty much into a brick wall. One of them is going to eliminate any upgrades you get when you level. So whenever you level in the game, an orb is going to appear that you have to shoot to level up. And that goes completely away, so you run the game without any in-game upgrades. One of them that you were just showing on the video makes it so your bullets stop very short, so you have to get really, really close to enemies to be able to do anything. Another one, after you kill enemies, is going to leave 1 bullet behind, or an amount of bullets depending on the enemy health that will seek you, and so it gives you kind of a surprise hidden attack every time you kill an enemy. One of them is going to lower your speed down to 50% of what it normally is, and a couple others that I can't remember offhand, but yeah, the exploding modules is another one, and so yeah, just some really, really insanely tough things for you to be able to get through. I've tried beating the game with 1 curse on, and it even just 1 curse really amps up the difficulty. It's totally possible, but it really does make it more difficult.
I went hardcore, went all 8, and honestly, I think I lasted maybe as long or maybe even shorter than the first time I had a relationship with a woman. It was quick.
Oh.
Okay, do you know what? I'm just going to turn this dialogue up a bit, because let's turn it up a little bit. Let's blast up the sound, because you know what? Okay.
never fall to someone as incompetent as you. Prepare to be exterminated, you loathsome bug.
Okay. I wanted to get more of the dialogue, but hey, maybe one of the other Karens when they're talking. So, okay, what is your favorite shmup? I know you mentioned Gradius, the Gradius games. I'm a big fan of those as well. Obviously, like there's R-Type, there's the what other ones are there? There's like the Batsugan games. There's quite a lot of shmups out there. But what is your favorite one? Like if you had to name one.
It would be Zero Ranger. That's definitely my favorite. That was a big inspiration also for the game. That one, oddly enough, it's not a roguelite shmup. It's a traditional horizontal, or sorry, a vertical shmup. So
Okay.
your ship's at the bottom, and the background is scrolling up to down, and then you move left and right, and you're shooting vertical bullets. And that one was, I downloaded it. I got it probably 3 years ago. And I
Okay.
just played through the whole thing. I spent hours in that game, and it's just the color palette is just draws me in because it's such a limited. It's kind of an orange and green style, and so the amount of cool graphics and cool pixel art they were able to create in such a limited palette and still keep the game very fun and juicy and engaging just drew me right in. So that's probably my top shoot 'em up. Out
And
of
so, what
all
was
of
that
them.
title called again? Because it's not one I'm familiar with. I'll have to check it out. What was the name again?
Zero Ranger. It
And
was an indie game shmup that came up about probably in 2017, I think it
okay,
was released.
okay. No, that's fine. I'm more familiar with the older stuff because like I'm a bit of an old coot. Than any of the newer stuff. There's a new one that I played recently that I really liked, and you probably know about. I think it's called like something like Super Hydrola or something. I bought it for the Switch. Plays really, really nice. It's very, 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 very true to like the Nemesis Gradius games. I don't know if you've seen that, but that's a
No, I
recent one
haven't
that I
seen
really
that
like.
one.
Oh no, you'll have to check that one out. I've got a video on the channel about it. I think you can get there's a free version that's out, and then there was a commercial one that was released. It's out for like Steam and everywhere else. I'll send you a link to it after the game. It's
Yeah,
well,
I'd love to check it out.
yes, it's very, very good. So okay, so that's what about your favorite like old games? So like we're talking like arcade games. It can be on the NES, it can be on the SNES, but we're talking like let's say pre 1995. What's your favorite pre 1995 shmup?
Pre 1995. Oh man. I don't know if R-Type goes back that far. I
Yeah,
think
R-Type
R-Type
was
does.
out well before
So
that. Yeah,
yeah, R-Type was always my go-to when I was a kid, popping in the Super Nintendo cartridge for R-Type. That was
nice.
always a fond memory of mine. I think that ship design, kind of that round front and
Mm.
all the different cool blasters and stuff you could get with R-Type with the Helix blaster, those kinds of things. That was always kind of a good memory for me, so I'd probably have to say R-Type
No,
was where it was at for
R-Type's
me.
a great choice. I think the SNES one was it Super R-Type? It was different to the arcade one.
Yeah, Super R-Type, uh-huh.
Yeah, so there were some differences in there. I never played it a lot on the SNES. I played the arcade version a lot, and I played ports of the actual arcade version as well. But yeah, R-Type is fantastic. Very, very difficult. Those ones, they're brutal, and it's one hit
Yeah.
and you're dead. I remember like seeing the first boss on like the original R-Type was just mind blowing at the time, and just recently I started playing R-Type 2, and what was really interesting was the boss. That alien kind of thing with a tail waggling about and the four eyeballs attached to it. Do you remember that boss in the arcade
Uh-huh.
version of R-Type? So
Yep.
when you play R-Type 2, the first boss is the same one, but this time it's wearing armor. So it's quite a funny joke in the fact that where it got destroyed in R-Type 1, well this time it's armored itself up. So that was something I discovered when I played R-Type 2, which was a fun fact to say the very least.
Yeah, it's actually funny. A lot of the bosses in R-Type are kind of bigger screen covering ones, on the right.
Yeah.
They cover like the right side of the screen. If you play Attack of the Karens all the way to the end, you'll notice that the final boss bears a lot of resemblance to some of those large R-Type style bosses. So that's where kind of the inspiration for that boss design came from, was
Okay.
from some of those bigger bosses that you see in those classic shmups.
Oh, all right, hold on. Have we got some dialogue coming up? Let's see. Let's have a look.
Well, who do we have here?
Marva, The KDF is here to stop you.
Why, you got about as much manners as a hog come to trough.
You're putting people's lives in danger, and we're going to stop you.
You wanna dance? Well, that's just fine. I'll get the right splendid pleasure of watching you suck in your last breath after I'm done with you.
Shut this woman up. I seriously can't take any more of her crap.
I'm gonna knock your teeth so far down your throat you'll spit them out in single file.
Larva's orbs are putting out a ton of energy. Watch them close.
Okay, so that's some of the dialogue I was talking about. And guys, just remember, there is a giveaway, yeah? So if you want to win a copy of this game, Attack of the Karens, there's a copy. We just need to know what your favorite Karen moment was. You know, whether it's a YouTube one, a real life one, let us know what your favorite Karen moment was in the comments, and yeah, we'll pick one of you guys out. Now, Joe, I intend to complete this, and the option for all the modifiers, like if I can't complete it normally, and I think I will be able to complete it normally because of all the additional, once you do a run and you can use the modules to kind of, give yourself better perks, I think I will be able to do it. But in the case I can't, I'm quite happy to use the modifiers and cheat. And I saw you post a picture on your socials on Twitter of this running on a Steam Deck. That's where I'm going to be playing it. Most of my gaming is done on handheld, and it's nice to see that this does have it runs nicely on the Steam Deck.
Yeah, it's been. That's how I always play it too. I always play it on the Steam Deck because I like to just sit with my wife after the end of the day and after the kids are in bed, and I pull out the Steam Deck and play for a while. And that's where I did a lot of my testing. Actually, was on the deck.
Nice, yeah, no, that's awesome. Like, same thing, family life. And the kids have overtaken the front room, so I can't play it anyway. My kids have got his Xbox and his PC connected on a front room TV. I can't, so I've got a little setup in the bedroom which I do like the Mr. and the Analog Pocket stuff on. But 90% of my gaming for fun, Switch, Steam Deck, Analog Pocket, it has to be on a handheld. So Steam Deck's awesomeness, it's awesome. It's really brought extra gaming that dads or like family people can do. Guile said to me, go home and be a family man. I never thought I would take that advice, and here I am 30 odd years later literally doing that.
Advice from Guile, it's the best.
Yeah, awesome. Anything else you kind of want to talk about, or any obstacles that you faced? Even if you want to talk about it, there was a lot of controversy regarding Unity recently and their kind of per install fee, which I think they've reversed now. Anything else you want to talk about on this stream?
Yeah, I mean, I could talk a little bit about the design of the game a little bit. Maybe we could go over Unity if you want to. I mean,
whatever. Whatever
so
floats
really,
your boat, Joe.
So really, like, the game is designed to be. It's got the Karen theme and everything for it, and there's a lot of humor injected into the game, but it's just really designed to just be a fun game, right? Like, I just wanted everybody to be able to play it, to be able to access it, and I did the whole game myself. So also all the art, all the programming, all the sound effects, all the music is completely me.
Oh, wow.
And yeah, so it was my first real commercial game that I put out there. So that's partly why it took so long and why it's, a little bit on the shorter side, is because it's my first effort, and planning some more stuff to be released in the next, few years, obviously. But this was my real first go at making a game, and I hope people just enjoy the experience. I hope they enjoy the fact that I put a lot of love and a lot of heart into it, and a lot of my humor. Sometimes my humor doesn't come across quite as funny as I think it's going to people. People seem to be getting the Karen joke though, and so I have a pretty dry sense of humor. Well, where I'll say a joke and then I just kind of wait for people's response. And sometimes I feel dumb after saying a joke and people don't get it, but hopefully, people are going to get the joke with this game. So
I usually like to say is my jokes are ahead of the current times. I said, don't worry, once you know the trends, you'll be laughing like a couple of years from now when you finally understand it. Get back to me then. So I absolutely love your sense of humor. That's what drew me to this game. Even before I played it or anything, I was like, okay, is this for real? Absolutely loved it. And one thing I have to say, one thing I feel really bad about Karen's. I used to work for this lady. I worked with her for years. She was like one of the higher ups in the organization I worked in, and her name was Karen. And do you know what? Honestly, she is one of the nicest ladies like I've ever met. Like the amount of
Oh yeah,
perks I
yeah.
got from knowing her, like she was just super super helpful. And when all this Karen thing came out, I just felt really bad for her. I kind of felt like I should have, maybe texted her and said, what's going on with all this Karen thing. I never got around to it, so that's bad for that Karen. But then I do get the term. They had to pick a name, right? It just
Yeah,
happened to be
yeah. And
Karen.
I do feel a little bad at proliferating the Karen meme, or the use of the word Karen, because I'm on the same boat as you. I know a lot of really great people named Karen, really sweet ladies that I just adore, right? And so it is kind of a hurtful thing, I guess, a little bit. And I know some individuals that hate the idea of using the word Karen. And just for the fact that it is Karen, so I feel bad for ladies that are unfortunate enough to have that name these days. But yeah,
Yeah.
I'm in the same boat as you.
Okay, no, I get that. Just want to mention as well, guys. There is, if I'm not reading the comments, my stream setup is a little bit different today, so I haven't got the comments on the side. If I'm not checking them, you can win a copy of Attack of the Karens. You just need to let us know what your favorite Karen moment was. So go ahead with that. And also, I noticed that TMS in the stream says if it's not Saint Dragon, PCN hasn't heard of it. So just touching on Saint Dragon. Saint Dragon was a game that I played in the arcade. I absolutely loved it, and so glad it came over to the Mister, because that's one game that when I tried it on emulation, there was always a layer of lag. It just felt incorrect, and I did play that a lot in the arcade. So that was a nice one to get. But TMS, I do like other shmups as well. Yeah, it's just I was very happy and excited when Saint Dragon came out. Okay, so right, Joe, back to you now. So in regards to like the Unity and all the changes, like how did that affect you, or how did that affect you kind of mentally? Because I think they reversed it to some extent. Maybe you can tell us about that. But initially, when you're seeing that and you've just released the game and you're hoping, it has some kind of commercial success, and all of a sudden you see this per install thing. Now I know there's a threshold there where they said it's 100,000 installs or 200,000 in revenue, whichever comes first, or they did set something out there. But as an indie game developer, how did you feel about that?
So when I first heard the news, I had the response of, well, I guess to frame it a little bit for your viewers, Unity came out with an announcement a couple of weeks ago saying they're going to impose a per install fee once developers get over a certain amount of installs and or revenue, whichever comes first. And I don't remember the limits off the top of my head. I think it was somewhere around $100,000 or the same amount of installs. And so when that first came out, and the fee was about 20 cents per install thereafter. And so when that news first came out, my first reaction was, well, it's not going to really affect me too much because this is something for larger developers that are going to have an impact on this, and I can see why they're upset. But for me personally, it's not a big deal. I'm just going to continue on as is. And then as I started reading all other people's stories and other people's opinions, I realized how big of an effect it will have on some developers that I really like, especially where they were talking at the beginning, having it being retroactive. So all the installs of a game that have ever been made, would be retroactively counted against them now with this fee, which was absolutely insane for a company to say something like that, and quite frankly illegal. And so I was thinking of all the near and dear to me kind of indie games that I play that have got massive success that were made in Unity, Hollow Knight being one of them, right? And so I'm not a huge Hollow Knight fan, but I could see a lot of games like that. Cuphead is another one that was made in Unity that have been massively successful, all of a sudden being impacted by this decision to impose a per install fee for all these games. And so once I learned more about it, I started to form an opinion, and I said, I'm not going to use Unity anymore. And like a lot of developers, I started looking at alternate engines. Godot was another one that I looked at. Game Maker, Construct is another one that I've heard of that I looked into. And so we just started to explore different engines and what the different possibilities were. And the hard part for me was I'd already spent so many years in Unity, learning Unity and developing in Unity and just pushing every day to build this game and learning the ins and outs in the engine and the API for coding different things, that when I would go back to work on this game after hearing the news, I kind of was a little bit heartbroken because I had really gotten to, a part of me was in the engine now because I knew it, and I knew it like the back of my hand. When I was typing code, I could know the API and just type it out. I didn't even have to think about it or look it up anymore. And so knowing that I'd have to go away from all that was really a difficult thing for me to think about. It's like starting all over again from square one. And it
Yeah,
was
that,
really discouraging to think about the future of the games I'd make and what would I do. I mean, I'd have to start over learning new tutorials on a new engine and feel like a brand new beginner all over again.
okay,
So
no, that's yeah, no, sorry, that just truly sucks, man. So going forward, are you still going to use Unity? I think they reverted some of the changes, or they've done something. What are your kind of thoughts on that? Do you think you're gonna stick with Unity, or are you gonna move over to something else?
I think I'll stick with Unity now that they've flipped the decision back and they've
Okay,
actually made it better for developers than when we started, right? Before the announcement was even made. So one thing that I'm really gonna enjoy is the removal of the splash screen. So when you start up a Unity game, I'm sure as many of your viewers and yourself might already know that if it's built in the free version of Unity, you have this mandatory splash screen that shows up when you first boot up
okay.
the app that says made with Unity, and you can't get rid of that, right? It's kind
Mm.
of a something they put in there, their own watermark, so it's been a form of advertising for them, but it's also in the indie game community kind of seen as a mark of a hobbyist, right? So if you see that splash screen come up, the person that developed it is small time, they don't have a lot of
Okay.
money, it might be their first game, so it's kind of like, is this game gonna be any good? When you see that
Hmm.
splash screen come up, and it's always a barrier for people, right? And so now Unity is going to take that splash screen away for the free version of Unity. So I'm pretty excited about that because that means I'm not going to have that friction for people when they boot up my apps. So that's pretty exciting.
Okay. No, that's good. And do you plan on bringing this over to like other consoles? So it's only out for the PC at the moment, from what I understand. But I
Mhm.
personally, I think like going back to handheld gaming, I think this will play marvelously on the Nintendo Switch. But obviously also PlayStation, Xbox, and it'll be great if you could get something like this, say on Game Pass, which I know does help a lot of indie developers getting their games, on Microsoft, and also kind of raises the profile. So any kind of future plans of making this multi-format?
I would love to expand it to other platforms. Right now, it's on Steam, GameJolt, and itch.io, so that's where you can get it right now. Um, if I do move to other platforms, it's probably going to take a pretty big investment from me either to port it through a company or a lot of time investment to reprogram some elements that would have to be redone for different platforms, and so that it would be a while coming, but I would love to expand it to Xbox. Would probably be the easiest transition,
Okay.
but I'd also like to bring it to the Nintendo Switch. I also looked at some other kind of lesser known consoles. You've probably heard of them though. The Evercade, I think, is one that I'd
Yes,
like to
yes, I
bring it
have.
to. Unfortunately, I think those people are a little bit slow in responding, so I'm gonna try and see if I can get their input on bringing it there. And their support for Unity, I heard they were gonna add support for Unity games. I don't know if that's in place yet though, so I might be, falling victim to what capabilities they have on their platform. But
Right.
yeah, definitely, I would love to bring it to more platforms.
Awesome, awesome. Okay. Anything else? I'm kind of all right. I think you've answered a whole bunch of questions. I'm gonna push the giveaway again, saying you can win this awesome game, and you've seen footage of it, guys. It's brilliant, and the dialogue in this, above everything else, it's brilliant. It is so funny. I've definitely got a dry and crusty sense of humor like Joe, so I absolutely love it, and I know many of you guys too as well, because you laugh at my crap jokes. So there's a giveaway there. Let us know what your favorite Karen moment is. Me and Joel will go through the comments and we'll pick one of you guys out, and you win a Steam version of this game. But Joe, I'm kind of good. I've I've got all the information that I wanted. Is there anything else you want to add? Okay, actually, before we go, I noticed on your social media you said you're excited to work on a game with somebody else. So, do you wanna, before we wrap it up, do you want to talk about who this person is, why you're excited, and if you are allowed to talk about what your next game is going to be, any of that stuff you want to talk about, then go ahead.
Yeah, before I get to that, I wanted to have one quick note about the voice acting. We didn't really get a chance to go over that too much, but one really cool thing about that is there's only two voice actors for the game. One is, your pilot, your co-pilot Amanda that helps you through the whole game. The other one is all the different Karens were voiced actually by one single person. So when you hear, when you hear Tiffany, then you hear Jordan, then you hear Marva, and then you hear Cassie. Remember that as one voice actor. Her name's Kelsey
Okay.
Mayer, and she did all these huge, bombastic, larger than life character voices for all the Karens. I think it's just interesting to note that one person did those four different personalities because it sounds like
Wow.
four different people.
Oh,
But yeah,
definitely. The voice
yeah.
acting's top notch.
Yeah, I had
Um,
a lot of fun working with them. But so to go back and answer your question about future projects, yeah, I did announce on my socials that I'm gonna be working with my brother, Grant, on making some smaller projects here in the near future. So what we're going to do is we're going to set some hard limits for ourselves. We're going to pick a theme live on stream, and then we're going to decide on the game concept right there, and then we're going to give ourselves, maybe just 1 month, 2 months, whatever it is going to be that we decide to finish the game, and that's our hard limit, right? Just to make some very small experiences and to get our game dev chops a little more polished and to get our tool set worked out and working together, and then publish those games on itch and have people experience those. And so that's going to be the next leg of my journey, is developing some small games with my brother, and then that's going to lead into a much larger project that we're both gonna start on after that. So
awesome. Well, do you know what, Joel? I wish your brother, all the games you make, the best of luck. Feel free to reach out with any projects you're doing in the future because you know what, I like your style. Your game's awesome, and you are awesome too. I'm sure your brother is as well. So, I think that kind of wraps it up.
thank you very much.
Yeah, that's all good. Just a reminder about the giveaway again. Let us know your favorite Karen moment. We will then pick a winner. But okay, I'm kind of done, Joel. So this is goodbye from Pixel Cherry Ninja. Like, subscribe, all the good stuff, and check out Joel's socials as well. Joel.
Yep, thank you so much. You can follow me on Twitter at Studio Primitive. It's STUDIOPRMTV. And you can also join our Discord and join the conversation there about this game and any upcoming projects we have. We're also going to do lots of cool events there, so join us.
Awesome. I'll leave links to all of Joel's socials in the description anyway. I'll go into it and edit it after if it's not already there. But guys, that's it from myself and Joel. This is